Manx Radio Sport.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Sport Preview on Manx Radio. Rob Pritchard with you here until 6:30pm this evening. Coming up tonight, a crucial top-of-the-table battle in Division 2 is among the pick of the ties in the Manx Football Leagues this weekend, whilst FC Isle of Man are on the road again with an exciting test in the FA Vase. In rugby, after a huge win last weekend, Douglas face a real battle away from home on Saturday, whilst Vagabonds Ladies make their home debut. And in hockey, a hugely important battle at the foot of the Mixed Premier League this weekend, as the contest at the top and bottom of the divisions continues on Saturday. That is all to come this evening. Kicking things off, we're looking at Manx football, and as the battles continue across the divisions going into the latest round of fixtures, the battle is also hotting up, looking a couple of weeks forward to who might be getting involved in the Decart Railway Cup going towards the end of the year. Well, as ever, to look through what's coming up this weekend, we have Tony Mepham in attendance. Tony, very good evening.
Good afternoon, Rob. I'm glad you brought up about the Railway Cup, because certainly is starting to hot up now, because teams have played 5-6 games, some have played 7. They've got to get up to that 12 mark, and it's the first 12 of the first half of the season. The second bit doesn't count if you haven't completed your fixtures, and what an impressive time it is. Boxing Day, it's in the afternoon, so you can watch the Railway Cup final and then go out and have a couple of beers and enjoy the Premiership when that's on telly later. It's an absolute brilliant day. I love it, absolutely.
Absolutely, and all that's to come as well. So let's take a look at the weekend fixtures, all kicking off at 2:30pm with one exception, which we'll come to. We'll start with the Canada Life Men's Premier League, and it's a busy old day. There are 6 fixtures down. Let's take a look at the top one we've got here, St George's at home to Russian.
Yeah, well, when you look at the league table, I know you're new to all this, but certainly these two teams, you're looking at the top of the table, and to see Russian bottom and St George's 12th, it's changing times for them at the moment. Both teams not having enough players. FC Isle of Man have taken a few from both, but I think when you look at St George's, the last team they had out, people like Sam Kane, Nathan Cardy, Ashley Higginbottom, Kieran McNulty, all sort of FC Isle of Man players. It shows you the strength that was in there, but St John's still did a great job on them, as well with Russian struggling big time, and I don't know what's gone wrong. I know I've spoken to you off air saying about Russian that last year I thought they covered the cracks so well with players who were taken in by FC Isle of Man, but since then it's hard for them this season. And I know last game out for Davies, Luca Moretta, 2 of the FC Isle of Man players in that squad. Stevie Riding's back from injury. Alex Guy's a good player to bring back in, but it's real tough for them at the moment. They've got tough games coming up, and in this one, if they've got the team that they expect to have, I just see St George's beating Russian.
And then we move out to Laxey, and they're going to be hosting the current league leaders, St John's. Yeah,
and St John's have really done well. They've been impressive. They've played some real good teams and done well out of them. The form of people like Kieran Brock, Dean Lease, who was on the sub-bench last week, they look as if they've got a good goalkeeper in Alex Haddock, and it's really good. Unsung heroes are people like Ray Lovell, who's doing really well in that midfield with Andrew Chadwick, and it's Sam Brown must be absolutely delighted with it. But Laxey are an awkward team. I've seen the team for tomorrow, and it's looking pretty strong, and with sort of the players that they can bring in, Sam Gelling, hopefully he's in the squad tomorrow. Tom Smith will be there as well. David Reynolds, experienced there. Max Shirley's in the squad. I think Laxey will try their best to take the points away from St John's. But I just think St John's at the moment, the form that they're in, Rob, going to be too strong.
Very well. And then we've got a Douglas derby, Douglas High School Old Boys against Douglas Royal.
Yeah, and Douglas Royal 10th, and at the moment they've just been sort of dragged down towards the bottom of the table. The reason why that is players missing like Dominic McCarry-Brennan, Lewis Roberts, Carl Watson have been brought in to the FC Isle of Man squad, but Andy Aspridge is still there banging the goals in. But Old Boys, the week before against Ayr United, I was really impressed with them, and I thought Old Boys aren't going to struggle. But then last week, Union Mills just, I thought, took them apart. And when you've got players in there like John Quirk, Robbie Ward, Sam Holliday, good experience in them, and you've just got to let the young fellas develop, I think it's going to be a tough afternoon for Old Boys. I just think Royal will be too strong for them.
And then we move on, and Morown, they're going to be hosting, well, one of the teams in form at the moment, Union Mills.
I was so impressed with Uni Mills last week, and it was rough weather just after half time. I didn't venture out. I stayed in the clubhouse. I wasn't going anywhere. But when you look at the three sort of main players that you've got in there, Luke Booth with a hat-trick, Jordan Crawley, Tyler Hughes, who looks so good going forward. I just think Paul Guyver's got a rich sort of talent there in front, and if you can score goals and defend quite well, and that was what they did last week, then they're going to take the points as well with around. Okay, they lost 3-2 to Ayr, but they're looking a lot stronger than they were 2 or 3 weeks ago when I saw them. Cameron Avery's back in the squad. Nathan Tear's a good goalkeeper. Mikey Callister looks as if he's got his scoring boots. And then midfield, you've got people like Connor Gilbert and also Owen Hurt. Moran, I think, will make it difficult for Uni Mills, but I just think Uni Mills at the moment are playing the best that I've ever seen them play for a long time.
Absolutely. Well, the next one here, Onken, they're going to be hosting Ayr United. Yeah,
I don't know if Onken's first team's been affected, but certainly the combination have struggled to get players together, and the game's been cancelled in the combination one. But it's Onken 8th, Ayr United 3rd, and Jason Crane at his new club started scoring goals. Deacon Lombard Chibnall, like the look of him. He was a little bit quiet against Old Boys, but looking good. Cameron Torres got pacey. Declan Cummins works hard in that midfield. And Nick Hurt, I'm still trying to remember his age, 46, 48, playing well, gluing it all together. Johnny Shields in there as well, so well done to Ayr at the moment. But Onken, very young team, they'll be proud of their start in this top league because they've been in Div 2 for a long time. Josh Kanyuk, James Carouche, Paul Whitley and Barry English, I think, will be back in the starting lineup. And I think David Rees is buzzing with the way they're performing. So I've got to go for Ayr to win it, but Onken will give them a real good battle, and with the younger players there, they're getting better every week.
Just a point there on Nick Hurt. I'm pretty sure a couple of weeks ago I saw him execute one of the most perfect Maradona turns I've ever seen.
Oh, he's a good player. He's a good player. Yeah.
And the last game in the Cannon Life Men's Premier League this weekend, this could be an interesting one. Corinthians against Ramsey.
Well, it is, because if you look at the league table there, Corinthians have only played 3 games. When you look at sort of the last time they played okay. But, that big gap, will it sort of affect them? They've played 3. The team above them have played 7. So that's like a month of football. That, if you say a game a week, that's 4 weeks. But they've scored 13 goals in 3 games. And I think Tom Callister's been doing really well. Jay Chatwood's found his feet now in this Premier League. Ryan Gartland and Danny Gerrard playing well in midfield. So Corinthians will make it difficult, but Corinthians got a bit of a pasting from Ramsey pre-season in a friendly. And when you look at Ramsey current form, they've dropped 4 points out of 6, so they'll try and correct that. Chris Duggan, is a thorn in front of goal. He's a really good player. Jack Gilbert's there as well. Matthew Montgomery. Kirill Vilev's been a good signing because, unfortunately, Ricey's playing for FC Isle of Man. And I noticed on a recent team sheet, Matthew Skillicorn. So whether he's back from Australia, New Zealand, where he was, he's an excellent player before it went. I think I'm going to just go for Corinthians but I think this again is going to be a really good game, and Ramsey have got everything to try and get right to see if they can get the points to get into the Descartes Railway Cup semi-finals.
Plenty to think about. Okay, let's have a quick rattle through the other divisions. We've got 5 games in DPS Limited Division 2. One of those is the early kick-off at 1:45, and arguably this is the tie of the weekend to watch out for.
Yeah, you wouldn't normally say that for Michael, but fair play. And I spoke to Kenny Dyack a couple of weeks ago, and he said, we're looking good. Don't count us out. So I thought, fair play. Scored 17 goals in the last 3 games, so they're pretty good in front of goal. Most of them goals scored by Liam Kane, Kieran Lane, Sam Greasley as well. But St Mary's aren't bad, neither are they. If you remember 7 days ago, 13 goals they scored against Douglas Athletic, and in the thick of it was Owen Canepa and James McGinn. Close battle, but I just think St Mary's have got enough to win.
And 4 other games, to be fair. There might be one in the spotlight, but 4 other games in Division 2. Yeah,
let's have a look at the second one. Braddon 2nd, Ramsey Youth Centre 8th. Dylan Parrish and Martin Murphy, Jamie Brew. Good players for Ramsey Youth Centre. But for Braddon, 9-1 winners against Governors in the last game. Just lost 4-2 to St Mary's. So it shows you that they're right up there. Very young team. Callum Holden, Carl Jackson in there. And then you've got experience of Mark and Ben O'Neill. Going to go for Braddon to win. Castletown against Jims. Castletown 4th, Jims 10th. Edson De Silva, Alex Crawley are the main goal scorers for Castletown, so I'd expect them to have a comfortable win against Jims. Colby 7th, Douglas Athletic 9th. The way Athletic have been conceding goals, 25 in the last 5 games, you have to go for Colby to win. And Foxdale 5th, Douglas and District 6th. Daniel Stewart Clegg will be the main one for D&D to get the goals, but a strong win against Ramsey Centre for Foxdale, and a couple of goals there for Alex Hughes, so they're in good form. I'll just go for Foxdale to win.
Very well, then we're into the combination leagues. Canada Life Combi 1, there are 4 games now, not 5.
There is, and St John's against Laxey. I'm going to go for St John's to win in that. I think they'll be too strong. Douglas Royal against Douglas High School. Old boys struggling to get a team out, and also when they do play, conceding a lot of goals, so I've got to go for Royal to win. Union Mills against Moran. Union Mills combis just like the first team. A lot of quality young players in there, so I've got to go for Union Mills. Ayr against Onken has been postponed due to Onken not being able to field a team. A lot of players away. And Ramsey against Corinthians should be a close battle, but I'll just go for current form, and that's for Corinthians to win that.
And last but certainly not least, 4 games in DPS Limited Combi 2.
Yeah, Michael against St Mary's. I think St Mary's should win that, so we'll wait and see how strong their team's going to be. We've got Jims against Castletown. I'm going to go for Castletown to win there. D&D against Foxdale. D&D have been given a gold card at the moment because a couple of games that they've played in, they've might have lost, or certainly lost in one, and they've been awarded the points because of rule infringement by the opposition. So they're going well, so I've got to go for D&D. And Ramsey Youth Centre against Braddon. I'm going to stick my neck out on that one and go for Braddon to win.
Very well, and just a reminder, there are no football fixtures on Sunday as the start of half-term gets underway. Well, we'll have a quick look as well. FC Isle of Man are back on the road this weekend, and they've got a long journey to the northeast of England. Stockton-on-Tees, in fact, they're going to take on Billingham Town in the first round proper of the FA Vase on Saturday. The Ravens will be encouraged by a positive run of performances despite narrow losses in their last 3 games on the bounce. Well, looking to this weekend, Billingham Town, Manx outfits opponents, they are going to be offering a very tough task. Craig Hughes' side, they currently sit top of the Northern League Division 2 with 13 wins from their 17 league outings so far, and they're on a decent recent run as well. They have 4 wins from their last 5 in all competitions, scoring 21 times during those and conceding just 4 in the same amount of games. Billingham Town versus FC Isle of Man, that's taking place at Bedford Terrace on Saturday. It's kicking off at 3 p.m. So Tony, very quickly, your thoughts. We talked about this on Saturday Sport Classified last week, and there seems to be a consensus that FC Isle of Man have been rather unlucky to have ended up with the results they've had, given the performances they've put in. Yeah,
they have, and we keep saying, or I keep saying, that it's complete opposite to last year. Last year, when they needed a bit of luck, they got it. But it's good to see sort of 1 or 2 players coming back into the training squad again. Sean Dawes back in training. I noticed Thursday morning he was down at the Bowl. Also Dan Simpson as well. So some really good players to come in. But the young players have done FC Isle of Man really proud. And as you rightly say, Rob, last Sunday, a real tough sort of fixture for them, but they did really well and just missing out towards the end. So let's hope tomorrow afternoon they get a better result, continuing that, and then we've got a home game a week tomorrow at the Bowl, and it'd be nice to watch them, just see how they're going and see the players that have been struggling with injury, young players and older players, all coming back in. It gives Bassie and Dicko a little bit of a problem to pick out their best squad because there's a lot of quality in there, and 1 or 2 are going to be disappointed.
Very true. Well, FC Isle of Man away at Billingham Town in the first round prop of the FA Vase, 3 p.m. tomorrow at Bedford Terrace. Tony, thank you very much, and we'll be catching up with you tomorrow. Okay, so moving on to rugby. After a huge win on home soil last weekend, it looks like it'll be back to the grindstone for Douglas when they head back on the road in the Regional 2 North West League tomorrow. Meanwhile, a home debut awaits for Vagabonds Ladies. Vagas Men's are away in the Counties 3 ADM Lancs Cheshire League, and there's domestic cup competition action in the south of the island. I spoke to Dave Christian today to see how he thinks the respective contests could pan out.
Starting with Douglas, I wouldn't fancy that trip, to be quite honest. They're away at Anselmians on the Wirral, and Anselmians are going really, really well in the competition. Played 6, won 6. They've got 6 bonus points. There's absolutely yet no chance, in my view at least, that Douglas have got to come back with points from this particular game. It's been a difficult start for them. They picked up that win last week against Altrincham Kersall at Portachee. Things are looking up a little bit, I guess, but to have this fixture, and it's just the way the fixtures have come out, to be honest. To have this one sitting on the back of your first win, it's really, really difficult for them. Going away to Anselmians, I think it's not going to be looking good for them. They are still languishing near the bottom of the table. The win against Altrincham Kersal lifted them from bottom to ninth. But Anselmians' playing record, they've got the leanest defence in the league after 6 matches. They've only conceded 80 points, and they've got the second most potent attack. Vagabonds, however, is a slightly different story. Vagas picked up their first win last week. Now, it wasn't quite in the way that they would have wanted. It was a win in the rulebook rather than on the field of play. Old Bedians didn't turn up for the match and have effectively conceded. The points have been awarded subject to any appeal that goes in, and we can see that Vagabonds moved away from the foot of the table in ADM Regional 3. That said, they haven't been performing particularly well on the pitch. They have gotten themselves off the bottom of the table, but I think Ellesmere Port are right next to them. Ellesmere Port have actually won twice already this season, and they beat Southern Nomads in the Cheshire Bowl, 39-19, I think that game was. So it's going to be difficult for Vagabonds as well, I suspect. Ellesmere Port are going to be pretty competitive. They've got a nice tight set of forwards there over on Merseyside, and again, it's a little bit like Douglas. You feel from pushing the boundaries, travelling away. It is going to benefit them probably in the long term. Their players are going to get plenty of experience, but I don't really see them coming back with much from this game. Vagabonds Ladies, however, a slightly more positive note. They're at home, their first home game of the season. It's against Eccles. They've got pretty much a full strength side out. The only real change that I can see on the team sheet there is that Corinna Daly's going to move from number 8 into prop forward. That I think is because Jess Swales is unavailable. Oh no, Jess Swales in there as well now. I'm looking down the team sheet a bit further, so not sure tactically why they've done that. But Sophie Henry's there in the back row with Clara Townsend and Daly Sewell. Those 3 are going to be very, very important in this game. Eccles are up there at the top end of the table. Vagabonds, I think, 4th at the moment, and they're going to need to work hard. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff at Portishead if you're going along to watch that one. And the final fixture today is in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield, Castletown against Southern Nomads. There were 3 fixtures scheduled. Western Vikings should have been playing Ramsey. That one postponed earlier in the week because Western Vikings players participating in a wedding celebration within the club. And the other game was called off quite late on. That was Emerging Nomads against Eastern Barbarians. Eastern Barbarians struggling to get a team out this week. So that's a combination between Douglas and Vagabonds. Both of their first teams playing, but neither side able to generate enough players to help fulfill the domestic fixture. So that will be rescheduled at a later date. Castletown won once this season. They did beat the Eastern Barbarians, and it was only a couple of weeks ago as well. But Southern Nomads will be a team to watch out for here. They've already lost to their Southern Nomads Greens. They've already lost to Southern Nomads Whites in the competition, and they want to get themselves back on track and get themselves up there as contenders for the title. And they're going to have to start this with a win at Paulson Park. It's a tough little ground to win at. It's small. There's a bit of a slope on it as well. It may suit Castletown, and Castletown may find their numbers swelled a little bit with a few players from other clubs who aren't playing today might just make their way down to Paulson Park to lend a shoulder to the wheel. But on paper, it should be a straightforward win for Southern Nomads.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally, turning to hockey, and the battles are intensifying at the top and bottom of the respective mixed divisions going into the latest round of fixtures on Saturday. I spoke to Ben Cunningham as ever to get his take on what's to come tomorrow. Fixtures across the Rossborough Mixed Premier League and then the mixed divisions 1, 2 and 3. No under 15s games this week. Well, we'll start with the Rossborough Mixed Premier League and the early pushback, 12:35. It's Vikings A and they take on Valkyries A at the NSC.
Yeah, I think this will be a very close game. Valkyries A narrowly just lost out to Backers A last week. Vikings A definitely want to be keeping the push and push on to, keep on Backers A's tails. It'll be a close one, this one, but I think this one might end as a stalemate, but we'll see.
And then 3 games at 2:05, pushing back on one of those at Castle Rushen High School. Castletown Celts, and they host the current league leaders, Backers A.
Yeah, league leaders Backers A against Castletown Celts this week. Castletown Celts have really proven themselves this year. They have been really pulling off some fantastic results. I mean, last week they drew 5-5 with Backers B, so maybe it might have been just that last week was a little bit of a blip, but, you know, I'm sure this week they'll be gunning for this, and I definitely think they'll give Backers A good game, but I think Backers A will just have it on paper.
And then at the same time, the north of the island, Backers B, well, they're taking on Ramsey A.
Yeah, Ramsey A got their first win last week of the season, and I'm sure they'll be wanting to keep up that winning form, but Backers B, you know, they've been pushing on as well, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm sure Ramsey will definitely be trying to get another win on the card this week.
And the other game at 2:05 in the Premier League, this could be an important one at the other end of the table. It's the battle of the B teams, Vikings B against Valkyries B at the NSC.
Yeah, Vikings B bottom of the league with no points, and Valkyries B second from bottom with only 1 point, so this game really does have a lot riding on it. I really can't call it because, to be honest, both teams have had pretty much the same season, and it'd be interesting to see how it goes, but I mean, this could be very important, this game.
There are some intriguing ties all across the Premier League this weekend, but if you did have to pick one out as maybe the one to keep an eye on, which would it be?
I'm going to say that game, Vikings B against Valkyries B, because I think there's a lot riding on that game. I mean, don't get me wrong, the other games have got lots on, but I think that game's going to be quite the big one.
Very well, let's quickly take a look through the other divisions. Rossborough Mixed Division 1, we've got 3 games there.
Yep, so at 11:05 at Castle Rushen, we've got Vikings C against Castletown Southerners. At 2:05 at QE2, we have Valkyries C against Harlequins A. And at 3:35 at the National Sports Centre, we have Backers C against Vikings D.
And that game in particular there, the 2:05 pushback at QE2, Valkyries C and Harlequins A. I mean, Harlequins A, you know, they've got a bit of a gap to make up, but a win at the weekend could just open up maybe some light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Valkyries C dropped a point last week, drawing with Castletown, and that definitely has been an eye-opener for Harlequins, and I'm sure they'll definitely be looking at making sure that this week they make the most of it and go and get the win, because like you say, it could really turn the tables and pull them back into this league challenge.
Okay, let's move on to Rossborough Mixed Division 2. 3 games there, and they're all pushing back at 12:35.
Yep, so they're all at 12:35. So the first one is Castletown Camags against Vikings E, and that's at Castle Rushen High School. The next one is Ramsey Rookies against Ramsey Ravens, and that's at Ramsey. And the final one in this league is Valkyries D against Castletown Cushags, and that's at Peel.
And last but certainly not least, Rossborough Mixed Division 3.
Yep, so we have at 11:05 Valkyries Colts against Harlequins B. At 11:05 again, this time at the NSC, we have Backers Colts against Harlequins C. And then at 3:30, we have Castletown Carrags against Backers D, and that's at 3:30 at Peel.
Manx Radio Sport.
That's all we have time for this evening. Many thanks to my guests again this week, Tony Mepham, Dave Christian and Ben Cunningham. Well, now it's time to move on. Chris Kinley is up with you next, but from me until next time, it's bye for now.